This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
If and you understand this one article, you understand everything that is going on in our culture. This is Wretched Radio. We are seeing black people pitted against white people and vice versa. Is that really the game that is being played, or is there a subtext to this that has been afoot for decades? I would suggest to you, while it is a bit of the former, it is far more of the latter. And it's working, because we can say, yes, there have been injustices. Yes, there continue to be injustices. Yes, there are racist people. Right. But the effort to try to change our entire civilization is what really is the game that is being played. That what the end goal here is not to bring out racial harmony, to bring about racial equity. It's to overthrow an entire civilization. From Gentle Reformation did a fine job of explaining just what Marxism, critical race theory is. Now, having heard the Smithsonian Institute that they want to identify certain values as being white things, therefore, these things have to go in our society, from the nuclear family to hard work to using the scientific method, that there are punctuality is a good value. Those are all white things. All things white are bad because they're intended to keep down black people or yellow people or female people. Therefore, we need to change our culture, when what they're really asking to do is change our values. This from Gentle Reformation. Critical theory is a branch of the postmodern tree. In its most basic form, critical theory holds that the white male system, which prevails in the Western world, is inherently oppressive of minorities of all kinds, especially to people of color. White men are generally the most wealthy, hold the highest positions of power in government and business, occupy the majority of seats in the highest courts, etc. Now, by the way, that isn't entirely true. The Asian community are doing extraordinarily well in this hegemonic society. The legal system created by white men, see, that's the language right there. Was the legal system created by white men? Well, yeah, I mean, but all the people in America for the most part at that time were white people that were building the system that we were going to live in as a society. They're not white per se. They're values, they're ideals. They can even be philosophies. And ideas don't have skin colors. Values don't have skin colors. Now, critical theory says, yes, they do. Because they weren't invented as values that are good. They were invented as values intended to oppress people. That's the world that we are currently living in. The legal system created by white men protects their wealth and power and disproportionately charges, incarcerates, and even executes people of color. It does not uphold a timeless, objective, God-given ideal of justice as it claims. That's critical theory. Even if the predominantly white leadership in America were to listen to oppressed communities and implement their very best ideas, it would do nothing to undermine the narrative of white supremacy. Rather, it would only confirm the narrative of a white savior who fools the masses into believing he can achieve liberty and justice for all while retaining ultimate power for his own community.
So no matter what we do,
yes,
we can't fix this without tearing it all down.
That is correct, because that's ultimately what it's about. So this is why this conversation is almost impossible to have. Because even as I have it to explain what it is that's actually happening, this conversation would be deemed racist, because I'm fighting for white values and ideas and a white legal system and a white government system to hold down people of color. Therefore, we can't even talk about this. Now, you have every single right to evaluate whether the context of this description of critical theory is correct. My observations about what is being revealed through the Smithsonian Institution are accurate. By all means, do that. But ideas and arguments don't have skin colors or genders. Remember? We used to say that about the life issue, didn't we? That when it came to discussing the issue of whether or not a baby can be executed in the mother's womb, and the argument would be, you're not a woman, you can't understand, we would cry foul. Hey, wait a second. Arguments are not based on genders. They're either strong or true or false and weak. They don't have genders. They're arguments. Weigh them on their own merit. And we should be saying the exact same thing with these issues. And the white community should be, Christian community at least, should be the first to stand to the line and say, what are the issues? Let's deal with them. No problem. All over that. Why? Because I want to. Not because I'm being forced to, but because I want to. That's the Christian response. But when it comes to the conversation about what that some people are wanting to do with our culture, I think we can be helpful if we simply explain there's a difference between values and cultural expressions. And when we just use the word culture for all of these categories, things get sloppy so fast. Even our trying to articulate this has been a struggle for me because it's not easy. And we need to tighten this up or we're just going to see a different culture. So all of the aforementioned values that the Smithsonian Institute says are white ideas, those all need to go. The family unit, intact, gone. Hard work, gone. Punctuality, gone, because those are white ideas. Are they? Back to the description of critical theory from Gentle Reformation. Recently, when the white mayor of Minneapolis offered to reform, restructure, and revamp every aspect of the city's law enforcement, he was shouted down for failing to express his intention to abolish law enforcement entirely. Again, anything less would involve the retention of white power and the white power structure. Attempts to argue that white America has, on the whole, accomplished more good than evil is but another assertion of white privilege. The argument supposes that the dominant white male culture has the right to decide just which sorts of harms and losses are acceptable collateral damage in color to achieve certain goods, not to mention which people groups, whether it's people of color, Native Americans, women, etc., may acceptably suffer the said harms. Hence, the only solution to the problem white privilege is a revolutionary one, a total restructuring of society, language, and of the very narrative that defines righteousness and justice by and for those who have been oppressed. And that is why, when we talked about another surprise article from Rutgers, the English department, to de-emphasize traditional grammar in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, because grammar, punctuation, is racist. Why? Because those rules were invented by white people.
White man.
Yeah. So therefore, they're bad, and we need to stop enforcing those laws, because to enforce those grammar rules would be racist. Now, here's a question. Is grammar racist? Even if it's what if it were invented by a 92-year-old Asian woman? Let's say the English language and its punctuation rules were invented by her. Would that mean that those punctuation rules they're nonagenarian and Asian? You go, well, no, they're just rules, and we've accepted those as a culture so that there's order, so that we can communicate efficiently and effectively and well. Because you've got to have a unified language to have a unified nation. You've got to have a cultural language in order to have a culture. Otherwise, you've got chaos. So grammatical rules don't have a skin color. Back to Gentle Reformation, it must be frankly admitted that American slavery contradicted biblical law, as it was birthed from the capital crime of man theft, Exodus 21:16, did not involve paying slave wages, which is Deuteronomy 24, with a view to elevating them to a free and self-sufficient condition after no more than 7 years, Exodus 21. That's why American chattel slavery, bad. It's unbiblical to deprive slaves of their God-given freedom, to exit hired servitude at will, Deuteronomy 23. Often prohibited slaves from entering into the bonds of matrimony. I mean, that's just wicked business. neglecting biblical commands to be kind and good. Now, we have to admit those things absolutely, positively happened in this country. You can't deny that. And that is a grievous thing. But does that mean that therefore the conclusion is everything that was done by all people throughout American history therefore is disqualified because of the treatment that some people, no doubt, many people, did to a group of people? We have to answer the question. Our values, our ideas, language, punctuation, are those things based on skin color, or are they biblical? Are they true and good, regardless of the person who concocted them? Until tomorrow, go serve your king. Hey, I'm Todd. I'm going to be your Uber driver. What's your destination?
2054 Kemple Lane.
No. Your eternal destination. The liberals, they brought in Pelagianism. It's the old Sabellian heresy, denying the Trinitarian Godhead. 3 persons, 1 God, not to the Sabellians. No. They would say that it's actually just 1 God.
Please, somebody!